Welcome to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. We are a community newspaper based in Midcoast, Maine, and provide the most comprehensive, in-depth coverage available anywhere of the 18 towns and one plantation that make up Lincoln County. My name is Emily Bracher, and I'm a reporter here at LCN covering the towns of Damariscotta, Newcastle, Edgecombe, and Whitefield.
And my name is Christina Brown. I'm also a reporter here at LCN covering the towns of Bristol, South Bristol, Noblesboro, and Bremen.
This week, we will be sitting down with Toni Chappell, the owner of Fiction Bookshop, to talk about Independent Bookstore Day. But first, here are our top stories from the Thursday, April 16th edition of the paper.
Madomic Valley Athletic Director Matt Lash was presented with a 2026 Robert Lahey Athletic Administrator of the Year Award at the Maine Interscholastic Athletic Administrator Association Conference held at the Somerset Resort in Rockport last week. Lash is a 1993 graduate of Madomic Valley High School, where he played varsity basketball for 4 years and served as a captain his senior year. He also participated in track and field. He played basketball and graduated from the University of Maine, Machias in 1997, then served as the assistant men's basketball coach in the 1998 to 1999 season, and head men's coach from 2000 to 2003. Lash then returned to his alma mater in 2003 as athletic director. He is the longest-serving athletic director in Madomic Valley history. He has served on the MIAAA board for over 2 decades. Past MIAAA awards he has received include the Past President Special Achievement Award, Guest Speaker Award, the President of MIAAA Award, and Gary Durgin MCAA Leadership Award in 2022, and a 20-year service award.
Well done.
Very well done.
The Waldeboro Planning Board granted conditional approval for the installation of a biomass boiler at Madomic Valley High School during its Monday, April 13th meeting. A biomass boiler is an eco-friendly heating system that uses plant-based, renewable fuel sources like wood chips instead of fuel oil to generate steam and provide heat. The biomass system will ultimately service both Madomic Valley High School and Madomic Middle School. According to Brian Race, Facilities Director for RSU 40, the plan is to erect a 140-foot by 30-foot metal building that will contain the 1.5 million BTU biomass boiler and 2 backup propane boilers. The building will be located approximately 300 feet down Miller Road, just off Manktown Road, with a 60-foot setback. The existing boilers will be disassembled and removed during the last month of school. Ray said any necessary asbestos abatement related to the boiler removal will be done after hours. According to Carrie Worms, Vice President of Energy Efficient Investments, the cost to the district for this part of the project, which includes installation of the system and hooking it to the high school only, is expected to be $3.7 million. With the uptick in gas, metal, and labor costs, the price of the installation has increased significantly. In 2024, the entire project, including hooking the system to the middle school, was estimated at around $1.5 million. Ray said groundwork will start immediately upon approval with the intent to have the high school up and running before the fall heating season. The middle school will come online next year. The estimated completion date for the high school is September 15th, 2026.
In news out of Wiscasset, 2 Wiscasset men are facing a variety of drug-related charges as a result of the Wiscasset Police Department's investigation into manufacturing and trafficking of illegal drugs and firearms. According to an April 8th post of the Wiscasset Police Department's Facebook page, Dustin Barnes, 37, and Ronald Gonu, 53, were both charged after Wiscasset police executed search warrants at residences on 123 Lowelltown Road and 263 Pooler Pit Road on April 2nd. During the search, officers discovered evidence consistent with illegal drug trafficking and firearm violations and seized illegal drugs, cash, tools, firearm accessories, and a total of 24 firearms. Barnes was charged with aggravated trafficking of scheduled drugs, a Class A felony, unlawful trafficking in scheduled drugs, a Class B felony, 1 count of unlawful possession of scheduled drugs, and 12 Class E misdemeanors. Gonu was charged with 3 Class C felonies, including 2 counts of unlawful possession of a scheduled drug and unlawful furnishing of a scheduled drug. Both were booked at Two Bridges Regional Jail in Wiscasset. The police say the investigation is ongoing.
Over in Newcastle, the Select Board held a public hearing to discuss the recommended municipal budget and the other articles residents will consider at the annual town meeting by referendum on Monday, April 13th. The board finalized the annual town meeting warrant at the regularly scheduled meeting that took place after the public hearing. The recommended municipal budget is $3,594,496, an increase of $2,274 or 0.0% increase from the previous year. Increases in the municipal budget include general government, community and public services, planning and development, public safety, and public works. Decreases in the budget include debt services, transfer to reserves, and harbor. At last year's town meeting, residents approved for this year's warrants to be voted on by secret ballot. At the public hearing, some residents voiced their concerns about the new approach. Concerns were voiced that the new approach would take from the public's ability to provide input and have a thorough discussion over the articles. The board said the reason they wanted to try having the meeting by secret ballot was because they are hoping it will increase voter turnout. They said the town can always revert back to having an open town meeting should residents not like the new format.
For our character of the county this week, Angela White has no time for boredom. Angela White, a Newcastle businesswoman, mother, housewife, and community volunteer, seemingly lives in perpetual motion, saying she likes to stay busy to keep from being bored. White is currently busy with the annual Girl Scout cookie sale, which comes as her and her husband are busy building their new home in Newcastle on a plot of land made available to them by White's parents, Steve and Eva Frey. To learn more about White, pick up a copy of this week's edition of the paper or go to lcnme.com.
And now on to our second segment. We are so excited for you to meet Toni Chappell. And for our second segment, we have a special guest joining us today, Toni Chappell. Toni is the owner of Fiction Bookshop in Wiscasset and is also a writer. Today we will be chatting with her about Independent Bookstore Day, which is on Saturday, April 25th. Before we start, Toni, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi. Well, first of all, Emily, thank you for having me and for inviting me to come over from Fiction. That's great. So I am a former news reporter. We've talked about that. And I spent 8 years in England getting a PhD in creative writing. And I'm a writer, and I write historical fiction generally, and also some poetry. So, been here about 3 years, and the store opened a year ago.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about Fiction and what customers can expect when they walk in your store?
Yeah, so Fiction is an independent bookstore, obviously, and a lot of people will say, "Do you only carry fiction?" No, it's not just fiction. I just really liked the name, and I also like kind of what it says about how we perceive history, and that history is told through perceptions. And so there's a bit of fiction, I think. And so anyway, that's where the name comes from. So we have about 800, 900 square feet of books, mostly books. I have nonfiction, I have nature and environment, I have biography and memoir, history, a little bit of everything. I don't carry YA or middle grade. I do have a fairly nice, fairly hefty, I think, poetry section. Cookbooks we do have, and some nice hardcover books that people can give to children, that kind of thing. But not the middle grade and YA. But mostly fiction, nonfiction. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And what is Independent Bookstore Day, and how do you plan on celebrating?
So this is the 13th annual, I think, Independent Bookstore Day around the country. And every year you see a little more, they've wrapped their heads around a little bit more of what it means and who's going to participate. So bookstores all over the country, it's not just on the East Coast or here in New England. Bookstores all over the country will be celebrating that day. And it's just basically kind of our way, really, for bookshops to give back to people, readers who love independent bookstores. Last year was my first one in fiction, and we had nothing but rain for like the first 13 weekends that we were open. And the first independent bookstore day for us was just pouring down rain. And I was shocked at the number of people that were coming in. They were soaked, and they were and coming in groups. Like people were getting together in 3s and 4s and visiting bookshops. So they were getting, they're like, we've been to 5 today. And that's saying a lot in Maine, because you're driving, all over the place to do that. But people were really enthusiastic about it. So we often will have raffles, several things that we're raffling off. I just was at a conference and I picked up some advanced reader copies of some new books that are coming out. So people will be getting those before anybody else can get those books. And I'll be raffling some of those off. And we're just there in the store, and we have tea that you can sample that we sell there in the store, and just kind of a festive atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, other than the celebrations on April 25th, we heard that you are now a sponsor of Lincoln Theater in Damariscotta, and your first feature film is Project Hail Mary. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. I go to that theater all the time, and I love a theater. I love film, and I love seeing stuff from the National Theater in London, and all of the things that they bring there to the theater. So I happened to be in there, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I thought, oh my gosh, these are my people. Like these are the people that I think would be interested in fiction and the bookshop as well. And so I asked if I could sponsor, and they said yes. And the first movie that they assigned to me was Project Hail Mary, which starts at the Lincoln Theater this Friday or today. And I'm going today. Yeah, it's tonight. I'm sorry, we're saying this on the 17th, but it goes, I think, until the 23rd, right up until Independent Bookstore Day. And I just finished reading Project Hail Mary. And if you're out there and you haven't read it, and I'm not a sci-fi reader, I was riveted. Every day I'd get off work and think I got to get home and finish and see what's happening next. And it's not even the genre that I'm like really into, but it's very good. And fans, people loved The Martian, which is the same author, and so if you did love The Martian, I think that you'll love this. Yeah.
And you recently celebrated 1 year in business. What has owning a store in Wiscasset been like, and how is it working with the community?
Well, the first thing I can say is all of the business owners in Wiscasset, all of my colleagues there, I'll call them, the support is amazing. That community, the way it comes together, the way everybody, it almost, someone has said this to me before, somebody that visited my shop said, it feels like Wiscasset is like a Hallmark movie. But honestly, I will get there in the morning, and if it's winter and it's been snowing, we're all out there waving at each other, like shoveling the sidewalks. If it's summer, we're putting our flags out and everyone's, hey, and I'm going to go get a coffee. Do you want a coffee? It's a phenomenal place to be. And in the summer, once Reds opens, which it's opening on May 6th, I think, it just adds to that atmosphere. Sprague's and Reds and everybody going and having their lobster rolls and hanging out on the street. Yeah. Really fun. Yeah.
So other than being a store owner, you are also a writer.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about your writing?
Yeah, so I write historical fiction. The novel that I am trying to finish, well, it's finished, I'm revising to try and get out there right now, is about Mary Lincoln. It's a fictional account of the last 17 years of her life after the assassination. But coming up in May, there is a reporter that's just come out with a new biography of Mary Lincoln, too. So there's a renewed conversation, and I'm really, really thrilled about that, because this is a woman, we were talking about Women's History Month before we got on here, but this is a woman who I think is it's fair to say one of the most vilified women in history, and unfairly so. Yeah. So I love that a new conversation's coming up about her. My other novel that I'm still working on is about a true story of a murder that happened in Colorado in 1909. Yeah.
And so you also do workshops as well.
I do.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I mentor. I've mentored a few writers. Some of them are writing thrillers. Some are writing fantasy. Some are writing. It doesn't matter anything. I like to get one-on-one with people. So instead of doing a bunch of writers in a room, which is also very helpful, I think, for people who are learning their craft, I like to go one-on-one, be able to read some of their work, make some notes on it, and then meet with them and talk about what are their goals in writing, what is it they're trying to do. And often some of the first discussions have to be more about planning out or structure or pacing, that kind of thing. But I love talking to people who want to write and who are maybe not quite sure how to start, or people also who have been doing it a long time and they're in a project that somehow has stymied them for some reason, and we can get in there and kind of pick that apart.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And to wrap things up, is there anything else you would like to share?
Well, I do want to point out that April is National Poetry Month as well, and we do have a lot of great poetry, including some local poets, Maine poets in the shop. So if anyone is, I like to say with poetry, because I think people get intimidated by poetry, and there's so much about poetry that is individual to people. So I like to say to people, don't be intimidated by it if that's something that you are intimidated. Come in, pick up something and find the poet that speaks to you. And it may not be somebody who's who's very, esoteric, or it may be someone who's very on the ground, like a Billy Collins, who I think is a really accessible poet and was poet laureate of the U.S. And a really accessible poet. Or it might be somebody that speaks to you a different way, but there's so much out there, and you can take it in little bites as well. It's not such a great commitment as picking up War and Peace or something like that, right? Yeah. So celebrate National Poetry Month. But if you don't read poetry, start.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
Do you have any favorite poems that you'd like to share with us?
Because Mother's Day is coming up in May, right? So I would say there's one called "The Lanyard" by Billy Collins that is one of my all-time favorite poems. It's a little boy writing to his mother about this lanyard that he's made her at camp. And I won't say any more than that, but it's a brilliant, brilliant poem and perfect for Mother's Day, right? And then, of course, Mary Oliver. Who doesn't love Mary Oliver?
Of course.
One of these. Yeah. So,
Christina, what's your favorite?
I am a big Tennyson fan.
You're very classic.
I am very classic when it comes to poetry. In college, I was a part of a choir, and our conductor every Friday would read us a poem. So,
I love
and
that.
the Tennyson ones were always my favorite. So.
I love that.
Although he was also a big Shakespeare fan.
Well, I am too as
haven't
well.
really dipped my toe into that much. But.
I love that too, and with Shakespeare, there is so much poetry in Shakespeare, right? And Emily, what about you?
My favorite poem is Invictus.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am so blanking on the name right now.
I can't remember who wrote it either. Sorry, that's bad. But no, I know the poem.
Yeah, it was just really
powerful.
Powerful growing up. They really focused it on English courses. It was really big in the curriculum in Florida for us. So I think that's one that's always stuck with me.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. And I think poetry, people often think that they have to take on like a whole oeuvre of poetry or something like that. I just pick up something and flip to a page and see if you find anything there that connects with you, and I'd like to see people do that more with the poetry. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining
Thanks for having
us.
me, and I'm really happy you gave us a chance to talk about Independent Bookstore Day, and all of you out there that are book lovers, come into the shop, go into all of, support your local bookstores.
Absolutely. And there's nothing better than picking up a good book as the weather is getting warmer and sitting outside. So highly recommend that.
Yeah, any time of year.
All right. Well, we will see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. This podcast is produced by Lucas McNelly and Maya Zebert. Tyler Davis of Tyality Productions provides production support. Our theme music is by Stu Mahan and LCN Associate Editor / Bassist Sherwood Olin. The Lincoln County News hits newsstands across the county every Wednesday afternoon. And you can also access our work online at lcnme.com. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion, please email us at info@lcnme.com. As always, we're grateful for the support of our readers and listeners in Lincoln County and beyond. It's been great catching up today, and we'll talk with you again soon.